Hi, friends. Welcome to Direct Impact Broadcasting. The network of growth and transformation presents S.O.S For Leaders, where your host, Tywauna Wilson, will be sharing leadership and personal growth strategies. Let's jump right in.
Welcome to S.O.S For Leaders. I am your host and leadership mentor, Tywauna Wilson. S.O.S For Leaders is a weekly podcast that offers practical and professional tips that you can use to benefit your life. These podcasts are short, powerful, weekly messages that you can implement right away. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, thank you so much for continuing to keep listening to the show. If this is your first time, I'm so glad you landed on this show, and I hope you're able to find value and find a tip or two that you're able to implement right away. Either way, if you could do me a favor and share this podcast out to somebody in your network, to one of your connections, to somebody in your circle, somebody who might need to listen to this message today. They may need these few tidbits in order to benefit their life. So if you could share the show out, you could find it on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find it on directimpactbroadcasting.com. Today's podcast, we will be talking about how to be assertive without rubbing people the wrong way. I know that's a good one, right? Being assertive is important. It's an important skill for effective communication, especially in the workplace and for adults. Assertiveness allows us to advocate for ourselves in a healthy way. You got to be able to speak up for yourself. I will caution you that some people view assertiveness as being rude or maybe hostile, but there are a lot of factors that go into how assertiveness is interpreted or received. So we'll take a look at some steps that you can use to advocate for yourself in an effective manner, but yet still be respectful. So some steps to being more assertive. One is ask for what you need. If you don't ask for what you need, don't assume people know. If you don't ask, you don't get. As the old saying goes, a closed mouth can never be fed. And so you have to be able to ask for what you need. So if you are on your job, if you are in need of training resources, or if you're in need of supplies to do your work, if you're in need of any kind of accommodations, you have to be able to ask for what you need. And that way that creates or limits down on the confusion that could be, well, my boss knew I was struggling, or, they knew I needed this. No, ask for what you need. Another step is being okay saying no. In a time when we're asked to do more, be more, and just do it all, it's easy to say, yes, I can take on another leadership role. Yes, I can take on another project. Yes, I can sit on another board. Yes, I can, work in the community and do something else. And you may not have the mental, physical, or the time capacity to even be able to do that. So being okay with saying no, that's being assertive of no, I can't do it. I had it happen just not too long ago where I had a colleague and I hadn't seen her in a while. And she's like, oh, it's a group of us. We're going to lunch. Do you want to go to lunch? And while I would have loved to go to lunch and fellowship with them, it just wasn't a good time. And me going to lunch would have really had a negative impact on my schedule and what I had going on for the day. And so I was okay with just saying no. And I cut off with that, just no. And you want to say no because my schedule is busy, or no because I'm doing this and that. And no is a complete sentence. You don't have to give a bunch of other reasons or why you can't do something. No is enough. And she was simply like, okay. So that was fine. It didn't require anything. We didn't lose anything. She didn't feel any kind of way. It was just I wasn't available to go at that time. And I actually felt quite liberated behind it, because I didn't feel like I had to explain or do anything like that. Another step is speaking your mind. So letting people know how you feel, especially when you have a seat at the table, at the decision-making table. You want to be able to speak your mind, give your input, give your insight, give your thoughts, and let people know what you are thinking. And that, for one, if you have a seat at the table, that's the reason why you have a seat at the table, to be able to speak your mind and give your input. So speaking your mind helps you be more assertive. You have to remember, you have the right to your feelings. So you can feel however you want to feel about whatever you want to feel about. But you have the right to your feelings, and nobody can change how you feel about something. Nobody can make you feel a certain way, like you got to feel like this. You have the right to your feelings. Use I statements when speaking. So that's another way for you to be more assertive, is speak from the I perspective. This is how I feel. Looking at the way we're doing this job, I think it would be best if this. Or I'm speaking for myself. I'm only speaking for me. I cannot speak for anybody else, but I think this. So use I statements instead of statements like, well, they said we should do this. One, nobody even knows who they are, but using the I statements. So those are some steps that you can use to being more assertive. And remember, the delivery makes a difference. Tact is a thing, and so is delivery, and they both are very important in the way that you are perceived. How you advocate for your needs can make a difference in how it is received. So you can be assertive without being aggressive or impolite. And again, you want to make sure that you're using those I statements to convey your needs. And that way it helps the person that you're talking to be able to understand what you need, and it eliminates unnecessary confusion. At times, people may take assertiveness sometimes as you being rude or not. But again, you just want to stay calm. You want to keep it positive and constructive, and you want to speak to your needs, and then you want to be able to speak up for yourself. And if this is something that's new to you or not comfortable for you, you're going to have to practice. So being assertive comes natural for some people. They don't have a problem speaking up for themselves. But for some people, it creates a lot of anxiety and, unnecessary stress of being able to speak up, because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or feel like you're hurting somebody's feelings or disappointing somebody. And sometimes just that conflict of it all. And so here's the thing, the more that you do something, the easier it gets. And so in order to be good at being assertive, you have to keep practicing. You have to keep doing it. You have to put yourself in situations in which you'll have to speak up. You'll have to say no. You'll have to ask for what you want. You'll have to, speak your mind. But the more you do it, the better it gets, and the more comfortable that it will get, and you will start to gain that confidence as you go. And then you won't find yourself, feeling small or feeling insecure about it. And you don't have to apologize either as you go along the way. It helps you to understand and know your boundaries and beliefs on bigger issues. Once you start being assertive and start being more proactive and being able to advocate for your needs. And then there's just a few things to think about that you don't want to do as you are practicing or being assertive that will help you on your journey. So some of the don'ts is you don't want to place blame. You don't want to place blame on anybody for the reason why something didn't work out or whatever the case may be. You also don't want to yell or shout. As we know, that's not professional. But when you do that, people don't even hear what you're trying to say anyway. And you don't want to be unwilling to hear somebody out and hear somebody else's feelings and somebody else's thoughts. But you also don't want to share your needs in a confrontational way. So that would be contradictory to what we said of being respectful and being open and keeping a calm and diplomatic demeanor and approach. And so these are some of the things that you can do to start to be more assertive without rubbing people the wrong way and becoming that person is like, oh, she's very great. Because then they start to say you're aggressive and not necessarily assertive. So at the end of the day, you have to know what is important to you and advocate for yourself. Know what's best for you, and only you can decide on what to do if your requests are not honored. And I would just say stay true to your integrity and to your values. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of S.O.S For Leaders, where we talked about how to be assertive without rubbing people the wrong way. I hope you were able to get some of these tips on steps for being assertive, ways that you can speak up for yourself, saying no, speaking your mind, using I statements, and being respectful. Sounds simple enough, but those are things that you can do. And if it's not simple enough, then make sure you practice, because if you practice, then it becomes more comfortable. So thank you so much. Please share this podcast out with somebody who may need to hear this message. And please tune in next week for another amazing show. Until then, have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of S.O.S For Leaders, where Tywauna shared nuggets of wisdom that you can use to win in life. Follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and connect on LinkedIn. And remember, the secrets of success in your life resides inside of you. When you know what your strengths are, you can utilize them to live an impactful and influential life.